All right, Nick, let's talk about the New York Jets here for just a minute. This is a team, Nick, I would say, has an elite defense, probably the best defense in the NFL at this point in time. But the offense is a little bit lackluster, and there's a few key pieces here in the story we're about to talk about that I think will help bring this offense back to the greatness that it should be at. And we're going to get into that story in here just a minute. But Jets fans, I want to know, obviously, defense is great. Maybe there's a hole somewhere. I don't really see it. But offense maybe needs a little bit of help. And so that's why I want you to let us know through this offseason, whether it is free agency, whether it's the draft, what position do you want to see addressed the most by the Jets? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what is going on with the Jets?
All right, so obviously the Jets, everything that happened wrong this season with the Jets, they had the strong start to the year, didn't work out the way they wanted to in the end, and all their issues really revolved around the quarterback position. And Coach Robert Saleh coming into this offseason has some really interesting telling statements about the quarterback position, which I think is huge news for the Jets. I'm just going to quote what Saleh said to SNY TV, and he says, "quote We are going to be aggressive as heck." Really love the strong language there. Aggressive as heck when it comes to quarterback play and making sure that we do everything we can to satisfy that position. And owner Woody Johnson, when he was asked about getting a better signal caller, said this, quote, "Absolutely, it's the missing piece." That was according to Zach Rosenblatt over The Athletic. All right, Mike. So it sounds like Saleh and Johnson are on the same page of, they need to address the quarterback position. They need to get a lot better at quarterback, which kind of sounds like a big no duh. If anyone who watched the Jets play, Zach Wilson really struggled. Mike White flashed, but obviously the injuries kind of derailed it there. They haven't been quarterback, frankly, for good at quarterback for a really, really long time, frankly. And it's clearly a big weakness because obviously they got guys like Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, young running back Hall, if he comes back healthy, which I think he will, is a real stud. Defense is great, like you said. Seems like there are all eyes and all focus is on addressing the quarterback position, which they definitely should, Miles. I think they're heading in the right direction, at least strategically going forward. What are your thoughts on what Saleh and Johnson said here and just going after quarterback and maybe some options the Jets are potentially going to pursue?
Yeah, I think obviously quarterback is a big position. Mike White, he's had his ups and downs, but especially when you start dealing with long-term injuries, it's probably not something that you want to touch. There's a better option out there. Zach Wilson's not the answer. Joe Flacco, as awesome as I think that he is, being biased, I don't think he's the answer. He's getting old. He's probably going to retire sometime soon. I think there's a couple of good options out there for the Jets. You think you've got Jimmy G floating around with the emergence of Brock Purdy, and obviously they want to stick with Trey Lance over there for some duration of time. You've got Aaron Rodgers potentially floating around. Maybe he leaves the Packers. You got Derek Carr definitely going to leave the Raiders. That's an option out there as well. So I think there's a lot of really good options for the Jets to address free agency wise, but also, potentially they could look at someone in the draft. I don't think their pick is going to be good enough to get, a day one type starter. It'd be another project type thing, and I don't think they want that. So I think free agency trade is probably their best option here, Nick. What do you think about some of those options? Are any of those fitting for the Jets?
Well, I think Derek Carr, I think is the most obvious one. I think it's the sort of the cheapest and easiest path to get a quality veteran starter. I think Aaron Rodgers is more of it's going to be harder with this cap hit and things like that. And Jimmy G, there's a lot of variables, injury, things like that. Who knows how that's going to work out? But obviously, I think the biggest handicap for the Jets is their cap space. They only have $3 million in cap space. But I'm looking through their cap situation right here, Mike. When I saw that, I'm like, how the heck are they going to be aggressive at the quarterback? They can cut, just looking at the numbers here, just three players, and they immediately free up this year $35 million approximately in cap space. You're talking about Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, who I don't think is that great of a wide receiver to begin with, and Jordan Whitehead. And there's a bunch of other guys on here that I think are a little overrated. Who if they cut them, they'll say between $5 and $10 million. So I think the big thing here, Miles, is this is sort of what we're seeing from Saleh and Johnson. Is kind of the calm before the storm, because they're going to about to make a lot of moves, either trade off guys or cut guys to free up cap space, and then we're going to see the move to go after a guy. I think Derek Carr seems to be the biggest option for me. I think they're going to be really aggressive towards him. And look, it makes sense because they have the pieces on offense. Obviously, we already talked about it, but I think Wilson's a superstar in the making. Give him a better quarterback, and I think he'll, just be just a spectacular player. But I really love another move the Jets made that kind of was not really as loud as this one, is the fact that they fired their offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. They also fired their offensive line coach. I think what they're doing here is they're going to focus on the quarterback, and once they get the quarterback, they're going to bring in the coach that best pairs with him, which I think is the absolutely genius strategy. We don't see this very much. Most of the time, guys, hey, we need to get our play caller, Then we'll get our quarterback. The Jets are taking the opposite approach, which I think is really smart because they want to cast a wide net and try and get the best quarterback they can. And they don't want to, pigeonhole themselves into a certain offense that may not match with the quarterback, right? What do you want? You want a spread pro style passing attack, and you get Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. If that's your offensive coordinator is going to do the pro style game, that's not going to work out at all. So again, I think the Jets are doing the right thing here, focusing on the quarterback, potentially freeing up cap space. I'm expecting big moves soon, and then bringing a new play caller.